The house is quiet in the way only early morning can be. Sunlight falls in thin gold stripes across a cardboard box lined with an old towel. Inside, a mother cat lies curled around four small shapes. Three are gray and orange, still mostly asleep. The fourth is different. Black and white, barely the size of a fist. This kitten is already awake. Its ears are too big for its head. Its legs still wobble when it walks, but its eyes are open and sharp. It shouldn't be brave yet, but it is. Mom cat lifts her head. Something has shifted in the room. Not a sound, more a presence, a weight settling near the doorway. She goes still, ears rotating toward the far side of the living room. There, lying in a patch of sunlight, is the dog. He hasn't moved. He probably won't. But he's enormous, golden fur catching the light, paws the size of the kitten's whole body. His tail thumps once, slow, against the floor. He watches them the way he watches most things in this house, quietly, without much urgency at all. To Mom Cat, none of that matters. Size is a language of its own, and this dog speaks a dialect she doesn't trust. She rises, moves between her kittens in the doorway, and lets out a low sound, not quite a growl, more a warning folded inside a whisper. Stay close. The three sleepy kittens don't even stir. The black and white one does. It lifts its head, ears forward, small nose working the air. Something about the golden shape across the room has caught its attention, and once caught, this kitten's attention rarely lets go. Mom Cat notices immediately. She curls tighter around her litter, one paw resting protectively over the smallest one. Her eyes never leave the dog, but the kitten is already moving. One paw, then another, dragging its body over the edge of the towel. It wobbles, rights itself, keeps going. Mom Cat's ears flatten. She lets out a sharper sound this time, a warning meant to freeze her kitten in place. It doesn't work. The kitten crosses the open floor in small, uneven bursts. Pause, scan, move, the way something learns distance for the very first time. The sunlight stripes cross its fur as it goes. Somewhere behind it, Mom Cat rises halfway, torn between chasing and not wanting to startle either of them. The dog's ears lift. He sees the kitten now, watches it come. Every instinct in the room says this ends one way. A big dog, a small animal, a sudden movement, a scared retreat. The kitten stops just short of him, close enough now to feel the size difference in full. The dog's head alone is bigger than its whole body. His breath moves in slow, heavy waves. For a moment nothing happens. Mom Cat holds perfectly still, muscles tensed, ready to close the distance in an instant. Then the golden retriever lowers his head, slowly, carefully, closer to the kitten than anyone in the room expected. And what he does next makes Mom Cat freeze completely, because it is nothing like what she feared. Morning comes gray and quiet, the kind of light that makes the whole house feel slower than usual. Mom Cat wakes first, as she always does, counting heads out of habit before she's even fully alert. Three kittens, curled together in the box. The fourth is gone. Her whole body goes rigid before her mind catches up. She's on her feet in an instant, scanning the room, ears swiveling toward every small sound. The golden retriever is by the window, awake, alert, his head already lifted. He noticed too. Mom Cat moves fast now, weaving low along the baseboards, checking behind furniture, beneath the couch, anywhere a kitten small enough to vanish might have wandered. Every second stretches longer than it should. A house that felt safe yesterday suddenly feels enormous, full of gaps and shadows, and places a kitten could get stuck. Then she hears it. A thin, high sound, muffled, coming from somewhere near the back of the room, behind a cabinet, in the narrow gap where the wall meets the floor. Too tight a space for Mom Cat to reach easily, too dark for her to see clearly. She paces at the opening, calling softly, but the kitten doesn't come. It's stuck, confused, small cries growing more frantic with each passing second. That's when the golden retriever moves. He crosses the room without hesitation, lowers his big head to the gap, and sniffs once, carefully. Mom Cat tenses, watching, unsure what happens next. Everyone in the house, if anyone were watching, would expect the same thing. A big dog, a tight space, a startled kitten, a bad outcome. Instead, he lies down, slowly, deliberately. The huge dog stretches out beside the gap and simply waits, his breathing calm, his body still. No pawing, no forcing, just presence. The kitten's cries begin to quiet. A few seconds later, a small black and white face appears at the opening, hesitant, unsure. It sees the dog first, familiar, huge, steady, and something in that recognition seems to settle it. The kitten creeps out along the wall, straight toward him, and presses itself against his leg like nothing bad happened at all. Mom cat rushes over immediately, nose checking every inch of her kitten, making sure nothing is wrong, but the kitten barely notices her at first. It's still looking at the dog. Then, in a moment that catches Mom cat completely off guard, the kitten turns and walks toward her, only to pivot and walk right back toward the golden retriever, back and forth, again. Small deliberate steps between the two of them, as if trying to say something no words could carry. See? He's safe, I promise. Mom cat doesn't move for a long moment. Old instinct pulls her one way. Grab the kitten, retreat, keep everyone close and small and careful. But something else, something newer, holds her still. She looks at the dog. He hasn't moved from his spot by the gap. He isn't pushing, isn't demanding anything. He's simply waiting, the same as he's been waiting all along. Patient, calm, letting trust happen on its own time instead of forcing it. Slowly, cautiously, Mom cat takes a step closer. Then another. It isn't much. A few careful steps across a room that, until yesterday, felt like the edge of danger. But for a mother who has spent every hour since he arrived keeping her babies as far from him as possible, those few steps are enormous. The golden retriever doesn't move, doesn't react. He simply lets her come. And for the first time, Mom cat is close enough to see something she never let herself notice before. The quiet, steady gentleness in his eyes. The same gentleness her kitten trusted from the very beginning. Something shifts that morning, quiet and unspoken, the way real trust usually arrives. Not with a single dramatic moment, but as the sum of many small ones finally adding up. Mom cat doesn't retreat this time. She stays close, watching as her kitten climbs onto the golden retriever's outstretched paw like it's the most familiar place in the world. Her body is still tense, still alert, old habits not disappearing overnight. But she doesn't call her kitten back. She doesn't rush across the room. She simply watches. Over the following days, the distance between them keeps shrinking. The golden retriever lies in his usual spot by the window, and one by one the other kittens begin to follow their braver siblings' lead, first from a distance, then closer, then close enough to touch. He proves himself again and again in the smallest ways. When one kitten stumbles into his side, he doesn't flinch. When another falls asleep pressed against his leg, he stays motionless for hours, rather than risk disturbing it. When the boldest of the litter tugs playfully at his ear, he simply lets out a slow breath and allows it, patient in a way that seems too big for such a big animal to manage. Mom cat watches all of it. Slowly, cautiously, she begins to close the last of the distance herself. First she rests a few feet away, while her kittens climb over him. Then a few inches. Then, one quiet afternoon, she settles down close enough that her shoulder nearly touches his side. He doesn't move, he simply lets her stay. It becomes routine faster than anyone in the house expects. The golden retriever turns into something between a mattress, a mountain, and a guardian, a warm, patient shape the kittens use for naps, for hiding, for climbing practice they clearly aren't ready for yet. The black and white kitten, the one who started it all, still stays closest to him. It curls into the space between his front legs every evening, claiming that spot as if it had always belonged to her. Sometimes she looks up at Mom cat first, almost checking, "See, I told you," before settling in for the night. Mom cat no longer chases anyone away. She has her own quiet spot now, a few feet from the dog, close enough to keep watch, close enough to feel part of something that used to seem impossible. Sometimes, in the stillness of the afternoon, she even rests her head near his paw, not asleep, not fully relaxed, but no longer afraid. The house has changed in ways too small to point to directly. No single moment marks it. There was no big turning point, no dramatic rescue, no danger overcome in one grand gesture, just a slow accumulation of small proofs, repeated enough times that fear quietly gave way to something steadier. Trust, it turns out, rarely arrives all at once. It arrives in the shape of a paw held still, a breath that doesn't catch, a body that stays exactly where it's needed, again and again, until staying becomes something you can count on. The tiny kitten who once crossed a room she had no business crossing had somehow taught the rest of her family something none of them expected to learn, that size was never really the thing to fear, that the biggest creature in the room can carry the gentlest heart if you give him the chance to show you. These days the golden dog and the little cat family share the same patch of afternoon sunlight without a second thought. The kittens climb, nap, and wrestle around him like he's always been there. Mom cat watches from close by, calm now in a way she couldn't have imagined a few weeks ago. They were never really strangers for long. By the time the sunlight moved across the floor that final afternoon, they had simply become what they were always going to be: family,